And welcome back to All Day Live. We are expecting a verdict tomorrow in that trial of a former Teacher of the Year in Minnesota. Abdul Wright is charged with criminal sexual conduct with a minor, and he has pleaded not guilty. We started covering this last Monday with our Nathan O'Neill, one of our investigators who's been following this really closely. We wanted to check in with Nathan again today as we learned that a verdict could likely come down tomorrow. Nathan, do you want to catch us up to speed here? This won't be a jury trial, correct?
Correct. This is a decision that will come from the judge. And just one quick correction here. We do expect the verdict to come down next week, actually.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
There's some filings that need to happen by tomorrow by both attorneys on both sides. But then the judge will take this back and consider this for about a week. And then next Wednesday, that's when she's calling everybody back in to issue that ruling.
A week from Wednesday. Thank you for clarifying that. So when we last talked to you, again, I believe there was that delay in the morning because the defendant had waived his right for a jury trial, and so then things were going to pick up at about 2. So we actually have a lot to catch up on here. You know, opening statements, and then throughout the week, obviously, a lot of coverage for the school shooting, and this is something that we really didn't follow that closely. So what do we need to know about what happened last week?
Yeah, well, last week, the student at the center of all this took the stand, and for about half the day, she gave her testimony detailing exactly how she says this abuse occurred, where and when, over the course of a year. When she was 14 years old, this student claims that Abdul Wright, the former Minnesota Teacher of the Year, sexually abused her in the classroom, in his car, in a home that the teacher was staying at one point, as well as her own family's apartment. That happened, I believe, on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, Abdul Wright, the teacher at the center of this case, he took this stand. Now, I was not in the courtroom because obviously we were all preoccupied with the shooting coverage that happened on Wednesday. But from what I can understand, in closings today, his attorney said that he testified that there was never any sort of sexual interaction that occurred. They maintain his innocence. And his defense attorneys are really hinging this on the idea that this student is not credible and that she fabricated the entire thing. On the flip side, you know, the state says she is credible, and this will all come down to who's believable, whether it's the teacher or the student.
Okay. And we don't need to get into, I guess, a lot of the details here, but if I remember right, and correct me if I'm wrong, the prosecution was trying to get certain evidence in that they believed would be key evidence for their case. And then at the time we talked to you, you weren't, I don't think they had made a determination yet, maybe, if they were going to allow that. Can you elaborate as much as you can on that?
Sure. There was a phone call that happened between the student between the student's mother and Abdul Wright, where it's about, I would say, more than an hour-long conversation in which this teacher begs the mother not to pursue legal action. And it is a pretty incriminating recording. At least that's what it sounds like from the outside looking in. That was allowed into court. So the entire courtroom and the judge was able to sit there and listen to the entire recording and then question both the student and Abdul Wright on those recordings. So, you know, on one side, the state says that it was all but a confession, whereas Abdul Wright's attorneys say, well, you know, you have to look at it, it's a little more nuanced than that. And they tried to pick it apart a bit.
And then the other thing that your investigation uncovered too, which I think is worth mentioning, and by the way, we're talking, I know people are wondering, Best Academy is the name of the school we're talking about in Minneapolis. You also uncovered that there were records showing that there were a couple of concerns that were brought to the attention, I believe, of maybe the school or former teachers who had concerns. Does that make its way into this as well or not?
So that did not make its way into this trial. Okay. This was solely on this incident or the allegations involving the 14-year-old student at the time. So, like you said, we had the previous investigation, which found police records of previous teachers years earlier who had made some other sexual assault allegations against the same teacher. None of that was allowed to be entered into court, so none of that can be considered by the judge. However, there was at least one report of involving this specific student at the center of this case that was entered, involving the student's father, who had his own suspicions because there were some phone records, hundreds of phone calls in the middle of the night. He brought all of those concerns to the teacher and to the school. That was mentioned in court and raised as a red flag early on. So, the defense says, well, she didn't bring this up for 7 years. Why now? The state says, look, they tried.
Okay, Nathan, thank you. And you'll cover that for us today. So today is, what are we expecting today? Sorry if you mentioned.
Yeah. So they wrapped up the closings this morning. Okay. So they're done with that. Now there's some just kind of last minute filings on both sides from the attorneys that have to be done by tomorrow afternoon, I believe.
Okay.
And then it's in the judge's hands. Okay. And then she'll make a decision by next week.
A week from today. All right. Thanks, Nathan O'Neill. And the stories that you've done obviously are on our website on this. And it's just an incredible look at this case. And again, he's pleaded not guilty. We'll see how this shakes out. But we appreciate the update. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.